All right, we'll try that again. I got the mess all cleaned up. Can you even see what I'm doing? No. All right. Get the table back a little bit. How did I have a better view? All right. So where I left off, your body takes about 45 to 90 seconds to understand what you're doing to it. It's going to protect itself. The other muscles that are not involved in the stretch are going to try to clamp up to protect the other parts of the body, just to protect the joint from sinking deeper, to protect the muscle from getting stretched too much. And we are almost kind of fighting against what our body is trying to, instinctively do. The longer you hold it, the more your body starts to understand what your intention is, and it's not to cause harm, so it will start to relax a little bit. That's why we always encourage really deep diaphragmatic breath, that 3-part breath, the pranayama, where you're breathing in as deeply as you can, because that triggers the parasympathetic response, which causes the body to relax a little bit. We want the blood pressure to be low, we want the nervous system to be not as reactive, at least, calming down. And, the idea behind yin and restorative classes is to just take a restoration. That's why we're doing it, to rest, to rejuvenate, to help rehab the body. So I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of yin versus restorative here. So that first one was pigeon, where the shelf toppled down on me. So my son, I was like, you got to see this is hilarious. He was like, you had that coming. So now there's bird poop. I have a bug house that lives up on top of that shelf that bees live in and spiders live in, and it all fell out. I hope the bees are okay. All right. So a yin posture, for example, would be holding puppy pose with your chest pressed to the floor for 20 minutes. That would be yin. If we wanted to do that in a restorative class, we could use blocks. Blocks come underneath the chest, so you're not as close to the floor. You could bend the elbows and still get a nice little stretch, but you're going to be bolstered up, and you'll probably have a blanket under your knees. When I was saying earlier about the wide-legged forward fold, so in a wide-legged forward fold, you would sit here and fold over for 20 minutes. And this would be the posture. But in a restorative class, we would build up a really nice structure so that you can take the stretch and relax into it. So you're still going to get the benefits of the restoration of the restorative posture, but now it's not as intense because you can rest. Apologize for the neighbors. They have been, the kids, they're like a freshman and a sixth grade, have been fighting all day. And they're losing their dog. So this would be a way to modify that posture. You could also put the bolster again at an angle, so the head of the bolster is up a little bit, and then they can rest their entire torso. So just a great way to do that. That would be the restorative way. So many postures can be used as yin. I mean, you can hold a low lunge, or you can hold pigeon pose, and that could be a restorative or a yin posture if you held that for 20 minutes. So yes, there are traditional postures. You can teach a yin class with just postures you already know. It doesn't have to be something that you necessarily go and follow the book, the rules of that. What else was I going to say? Show you some more. This is so much easier to do in person. This one is, because we do it in the studio with all of the tools, and then I just lead you through a class. So it's a little bit more difficult when I'm just modeling all of that, especially when apparently now I don't have a good camera angle, and we work with what we can. And since we're not in the studio, you wouldn't have access to all of the props and the tools and everything at your house, more than likely, maybe you do. Another example of a restorative or yin pose is cow face, or cow face legs. So you have the legs bent with one knee stacked over top of the other, and you give yourself a splinter. Today has been great, just great. You could come over the legs. This could be a restorative posture, and you could stay there for, again, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes if you wanted. That would be your yin, just to come over the legs without a bolster. If you wanted to make it more restorative, you know, build up this wonderful pillow you've got going on here, and then you can rest on that. I always encourage you to place a towel between yourself and the bolster, because these things are not very clean. They're spot cleaned, but if you take the cover off and wash them, then you have a hard time getting it back on. Blankets are great because, of course, you're padding knees, padding tailbones. You can fill a gap between thighs and knees. So another example of a twist that would be a yin posture would be to do this without any kind of support. So chest is rolled towards the floor, the legs are off to one side, so in this case my legs are off to my left, and I would take my gaze to my right. So while for some that might be an acceptable and comfortable position in your yin class, it's going to be more comfortable in a restorative class. So again, bolsters used here, propping the end of the bolster up so that the end furthest away from the body comes up a little bit so you're at an angle, and then just twisting over that and then resting is a great way. You know, even those reclined twists where the legs come off to the side and the gaze comes to the other, that can also be a yin posture. If you wanted it to be more restorative, blankets can go under the knees. You can place a pillow or a block against the back, so if their arm doesn't come all the way to the floor, it can rest. You know, using pillows, using things to be comfortable. I still always offer a savasana for each class. One of the best, and I talked about this earlier when we talked about straps and blocks and all that good stuff, and bolsters. This is a great posture for a restorative class. This would be a great savasana, great for pregnancy as well. Blankets also can be used as a way to pad the legs. So say you wanted to sit in that Baddha Konasana or that bound angle pose for a while. If you roll the blanket up, you can take it underneath the ankles, and you can even like tuck it all around the legs to keep the legs weighted down. There are also sandbags that you can use. They're like yoga sandbags, so they're not very heavy, but to help keep the knees down, to keep the body, keep pressure on the body. Scented eye pillows, you know, that are just filled with, oh gosh, who knows, any number of things, but they're usually scented with like lavender or something. So you just want to have full access to all of the tools. If you're going to teach a restorative class, yin is going to be more intense without those tools, but both classes are restorative. If you want more information, just like I always say, reach out to me. I'm sorry this video is in 2 parts. You can always expect things to not be professional with me. Just go into it expecting that, and then you won't be disappointed. See you again. I'll just label this as part 2 of yin versus restore.